Speaking of King Rat, on Saturday he was in Michigan. While Colorado was burning, this filthy subhuman was in Michigan conducting one of his Nazi Nuremberg-style torch rallies. It was definitely a Nazi rally in Michigan. He got his supporters to start chanting, "Lock her up," against the Democratic governor there, Gretchen Whitmer. And again, this rotten bastard starts trolling the idea, or the nation, with the idea that he would ultimately stay in power longer if he's reelected, longer than even the two-term constitutionally mandated length of time. Believe him. Believe this sick psychopath. You know, it's becoming clearer and clearer to me there's only going to be one way to remove him from office. He's setting those boundaries. He is saying he will not be removed legally and or peacefully. What does that leave? Here's what it leaves: a choice of removing him forcibly or allowing him, like his friend Putin, to stay in power until he drops dead. Which do you want? There's a lot of people in this country, millions of people in this country, who would like to see this sick son of a bitch stay in power until he does drop dead and then be replaced by this filthy, illegitimate offspring of his, Junior. That's disgusting little punk. And it's only Monday. So, King Rat's fascist instincts and his favoring of fascism, all of it was on display Saturday in Michigan. And so many people in the crowd share the same fascist, sick attitude. I've known that fascism has been just under the surface in this country since forever. But this filthy pig Trump has let it burst out. And when you see all these people, working class Americans in Michigan, who are celebrating fascistic ideas and violence against their governor, it's right up to the edge of what I can continue to tolerate as an American citizen. I'm sure you feel the same way, right? And keep in mind, Michigan, earlier this month, federal agents stopped a plot by these sick, ugly, fascist males of no color who had a plan to kidnap Governor Whitmer. Why? Because of her COVID-19 health restrictions. This is how, I'm going to say it, fucking sick these people are. This is how sick. Let's kidnap and assassinate the governor because she insists that people wear face masks to stop the spread of this virus. These slobby, flabby males with these pale-faced bastards who run around with their guns and So the pig, the filthy, filthy subhuman Trump, the fact that this plot was uncovered against Governor Whitmer, that didn't stop him from going after her in his filthy remarks at this event near Muskegon, Michigan. The crowd was cheering when King Rat said this, quote, "You've got to get your governor to open up your state. I guess they say she was threatened. Maybe because of her draconian, unscientific lockdowns." And at that point, this filthy, collectively insane Trump of red hat wearing assholes start chanting, "Lock her up." And as that chant got louder and louder, Trump said into the microphone, "Oh, lock them all up," which was his way of referencing Democratic lawmakers in Michigan and anywhere who have advocated these robust public safety measures to curb the spread of COVID-19. Unlike the filthy pig Trump and the filthy, rotten Republican-led state governments. This, see how many times you can say filthy in the first 25 minutes of your podcast, Mike. And even as that rally of these crazy bastards continued, led by King Rat, Governor Whitmer responded in real time to condemn what the pig was saying and how he was goading the crowd. She tweeted, quote, "This is exactly the rhetoric that has put me, my family, and other government officials' lives in danger while we try to save the lives of our fellow Americans. It needs to stop," end quote, Governor Whitmer. "It needs to stop," she tweeted. And then the crowd began chanting 4 more years, 4 more years in favor of King Rat's reelection. And that's when King Rat said into the microphone, quote, "You really drive them crazy if you say 12 more years, 12 more years, and then they say he's a fascist." And in response to that, this crowd of half-witted morons then started chanting 12 more years, 12 more years. Trump went on at this rally, quote, "Joe Biden will surrender our country to the mob. And if I'm reelected, I'll save our country from the mob," end quote. And then King Rat promised to build in his second term what he called the National Garden of American Heroes. Or maybe, he said, it should be called the Trump Garden of American Heroes. And he says he's also, in his second term, he's going to force a new so-called pro-America education curriculum on the nation's public schools that will be designed to counter critical explorations of U.S. history that these filthy, stinking Republicans and who have now morphed into the American Fascist Party have hated for years. They don't want the truth about America. There's never slavery here. We never had people, slaves. We never had that. Those were immigrants from Africa. And the people, if you want to call them that, who were here when we white people arrived on the shores of this continent, why, they voluntarily went to live in reservations because they like living in reservations and eating cactus buds and sand and rocks and dirt. They love it. God. And then he returned to that idea that he would find a way to remain in power, not for one more term, but like his buddy Putin, his handler, his controller, he would remain indefinitely. He mumbled, this psychotic son of a bitch mumbled something like this, and I'm trying to quote, "We'll be here for 4 years. And then if we decide to go for an extra 4 or 8 or something." And in response to this display of filth and slop and fascism from a president of the United States and this crowd of his vomitous supporters? The writer and political analyst Jody Jacobson tweeted Saturday night, quote, "Trump held a Nazi rally in Michigan. There's no other way to describe it." End quote. There's no other way to describe it. A Nazi wedding. A wedding. A Nazi rally. I'm sorry, I was looking at something. A Nazi wedding? Yeah, well, it is a wedding of sorts. All of these mouth-breathing, dumb shit Trump supporters being wedded to Trump-style Nazism. How can people do this? How can people, American citizens, align themselves with the most evil filth in modern history that took the lives of 50, 60, 70, 80 million people around the globe, including the mass executions of 6, 7, 8 million men, women, children, toddlers, babies in death camps? How do those people of no color who sit in these Nazi rallies with King Rat leading them on, how can they possibly not understand what they're being led into? I can't understand this. I mean, seriously, I can't. I am definitely not the brightest bulb in the marquee by any standard of measurement. But I understand the murderous aspects of what Trump is promoting based on what I've learned about modern global history. And these people in Michigan or Missouri or Florida or Ohio or wherever this filthy son of a bitch Trump holds these Nazi rallies, they don't know? And I do? How could that be? Well, it can't be. It's because these people share the Nazi philosophy. They share it. And it's very easy for a filthy subhuman like Trump to whip these proto-fascist crowds into a frenzy. Every weekend when this happens, and it's going to continue, Trump has made it very clear for the next 2 weeks, he's going to be doing this every night that he can. I don't have words for it. That's why I struggle sometimes on this podcast. You'll hear these pauses while my little brain is clicking, click, 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 trying to come up with some way of expressing something about what has happened yesterday or this afternoon or last night or anticipating what's going to happen tomorrow because of this sick, insane Donald Trump. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcast. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com. and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.